It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the USA water polo athlete Tyler Aberson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in competing in water polo?
Yeah, so my story of how I got into water polo is kind of funny. I grew up swimming. My whole community, I grew up in Orinda, just outside of Berkeley, on the other side of the Caldecott Tunnel, and big swimming community, big water polo community. But primarily, I was a swimmer until I was about 11, and at that point, my neighbor, who had a son my age, was also playing water polo, and the mom thought it would be a good idea to get me and one of the other kids who lived down the street to all sign up for the same water polo team so that she could have more efficient carpooling and not have to do the drive to the pool so often. And so that's how I really started getting into it.
What was that like going to Stanford and competing in water polo at Stanford?
I have a tremendous amount of respect for student athletes everywhere because I know that for me it was incredibly difficult to balance um, top level academics with top level athletics. Part of the reason why I decided to go to Stanford in the first place is because I wanted to be pushed that way. I didn't want to compromise my aspirations to be an Olympian, be a professional athlete, or my aspirations to, get the highest and best education that I could possibly receive. And so learning to manage all of those things, especially time management, really, I learned a ton about that in college, and it was really a trial by fire, especially the first 2 years.
How was that feeling like getting to put on that cap for Stanford and represent Stanford water polo?
It was a tremendous feeling for sure. I think that one thing that is more difficult to do when you're actually in it is to pause and revel in the moments. Um, I remember like there are very specific times at Avery, which is our home pool, that I still have just seared into my memory of just enormous amounts of pride, looking up at the American flag for the anthem, smiling ear to ear, knowing that I'm going to go into battle with people that are so close to me. I consider them brothers, people who I spend, hundreds upon hundreds of hours with every year, training and doing the sport that we all love. It's a tremendous feeling.
What was that feeling like getting to put on your first cap and represent Stanford?
Um, I think the first time that I put my cap on and played a game for Stanford, I think that I was just overcome with, pride, both in myself for the journey that I had been on to get there in the first place, but also just pride for, you know, the amount of effort that my teammates and I all put in, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, the trainers, the doctors, the coaches, everyone who's put so much time and effort into making me the best water polo player possible. When you kind of reach one of those pivotal levels and it's the first time, you know, you it's good to reflect back and think about all the people who have made it happen. It really takes a village.
How was that like, obviously, during your time at Stanford, getting to compete against teams like UCLA?
UCLA was always a difficult game for us. We had three major rivals, in no particular order. We had Cal, we had USC, and we had UCLA. And every single time you get to play against one of those teams, it's just an absolute privilege. Because the level of that game is always going to be the highest of, you know, however many games you're playing. Whenever you play one of the big four, that's going to be a top level matchup, and you know that you're going to go and scrap it out tooth and nail to the bitter end. And win or lose, you leave the pool, you're exhausted, you're probably either incredibly happy with the result, or you're immediately going back to the drawing board and trying to figure out how we're going to get them next time.
While at Stanford, what was it like competing in the national championship in 2019?
Um, the 2019 national championship will forever be a very special time for me. Obviously, we won, so that makes it all the more better. But I think just the journey that team went on, the amount of hours, the amount of sacrifices that we all made, the amount of work that we all put in, and to have it all come together like that at the very end and finish the way that we did, it was really just a privilege to be a part of that team.
Of course, how was that feeling like the leading up to the moment when you got to hoist the trophy up and you knew that you would become the national champs?
I think that will forever be one of the most special memories that I think I've made. Um, I look back at the photos of me and my classmates, my teammates, everyone all together in unison, just smiling so big and so genuinely. It was a real special moment for me.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments at Stanford for water polo besides obviously that national championship moment?
Ah, I have so many great memories from Stanford. The first one that comes to mind is the first day of preseason. We always did a 400 for time, and showing up that first day, giddy and excited, but also dreading the 400 is something that was always fun. It was always fun to see how everyone reacted and who freaked out the most. Um, I think probably my second or third most special memory there was seeing my teammate and dear friend Spencer Nelson score against Cal in the MPSF tournament final. For someone like him who spends so much time participating with the scout team, doing everything behind the scenes right, and just working his tail off, to see him get a goal in a big game like that and celebrate the way that he celebrated, I think that was just an amazing experience, amazing memory of mine.
Of course, coming out of Stanford, what was it like getting into professional water polo and getting to travel the world to go to Italy to compete?
Playing in Italy is a totally different beast, but in the same vein, an absolute privilege. Obviously, I live in Naples, Italy. I play for CN Posillipo, and in Naples, Italy, it kind of has a bad rap of being a little bit dangerous, not that great of a destination. And when I went here, I was very worried about the experience that I would have. And then to get here and be so welcomed by my teammates, by the community, by everyone at the management level, the coaching level, the sport staff level. And not everyone here can speak English. So for the first couple months I was here, I was learning the language, learning how to flying by the flying by the belt, basically, just trying to survive and make it here. And now I'm at the point where I just feel so privileged to be here, surrounded by ancient cities, ancient things. Getting to go to the Amalfi Coast just on a whim, which is most people's dream destination vacation. And I get to go there in my car and, get an aperitivo with two or three of my teammates just because we had the afternoon off. It's truly special, and I'm really happy to be here.
Of course, as a professional athlete, what has that been like? Obviously, getting to travel the world, in particularly, especially in Italy.
I think that getting to see the entire world has been a tremendous experience for myself. It's really helped me broaden my horizons and develop a better perspective on everything. From learning other people's cultures, learning how other people think, understanding differences in opinion, and being okay with that. Um, I think that that has been something that everyone, I mean, my experience here, traveling throughout Italy, getting to experience different foods, different cultures, and I'm all within the same country, but it's so radically different, especially like northern cities like Genoa and Milan versus southern cities like Catania, Palermo, Naples. The everyone's got their own special dish, their own special food, their own special um, way of speaking. Like the dialects in southern Italy are radically different than northern Italy, and so just learning more about the culture, the history, the language, everything has just been an absolute privilege.
How has your time obviously playing internationally over in Italy helped you to make the national team for Team USA?
I think that getting to play in Italy has helped me develop as a player a lot. It's a much, first of all, in Italy, they play in 30 meters, which is the same that we play with the national team. So, in that regard, it's much more transferable, the skills and the kind of the pacing, the internal shot clock, everything that I'm learning playing with my Italian team translates very well to the national team. I also just think that in Italy, it's a much more physical game. You're playing against other professional athletes who are all big, strong, want to grab and hold. And that is much more similar to how it is with the national team playing against other national teams. And I think that those things have helped me develop myself to be a much better fit for the national team.
Of course, what was that feeling like making that national team and representing Team USA?
Um, it was truly special. Um, you put so much effort into um, your sport, the thing that you're the most passionate about. You sacrifice so many different things and so many different aspects of your life. And to get the phone call that, hey, you're going to be playing in, World League Super Final, um, you're overcome with emotion. You're really happy to be there. And at the same time, there's a lot of nerves because you spend so much time working on all these different aspects of your game and you're probably not going to get the most amount of minutes, but you have to just go in there and make them count. And you really want like I view the rest of my team basically as family at this point because we spend so much time together, and you really just want to go in there and be the best version of yourself to help the team be the best version of itself.
What was that feeling like making your national debut in Serbia to represent Team USA?
It was an amazing experience, very similar to what I just said about being overcome with emotion and a little bit of nerves. Um, you just you want to help the team succeed. That's really what being a good team player is about. And so you just have to take a step back, process the emotions, and then focus on what's the most important thing that I need to do next to make sure that I can help the team the best that I can.
What were some of your favorite memories of moments competing in the World League Super Finals?
I think that the semifinal game against France will probably be forever a very strong memory of mine, mainly because due to a variety of reasons, we ended up playing almost running out of substitutes. And so for me, someone who wasn't getting a ton of minutes with the team, um, to then being someone who is now being asked to play every minute of the fourth quarter and give it your best shot, make sure that you can help us win this game. That was really special.
How's that like obviously getting to play those teams like France, Canada, and other countries?
It's always a fun experience. Similar to what I mentioned earlier about like when you play a Cal, a USC, a UCLA in college, you're just going to get a fight, a bitter fight all the way to the end. that's how it is with every game with the national team, because every team is playing for their country, for their families, for their homes, and they're just and the level of competition is just at its absolute peak.
How was that feeling like the first time you got to put on that Team USA gear and have it on your cap?
It was an amazing experience. You put in so much effort to get there, and to then have it all come to fruition and see it. Um, it really is special. I take every chance I can to wear my national team, my USA stuff.
What does it mean to represent the U.S. water polo and be a U.S. water polo athlete?
It's amazing. I've worked basically for the last 13 years on becoming the best water polo player that I can possibly be, and to get an opportunity to play with the national team and compete in international competitions. It's a truly humbling and it's a truly humbling experience. I'm just incredibly grateful to have the opportunity.
How's that feeling like obviously getting to meet your fans in US and even internationally and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
You know, it really is an amazing thing. Growing up playing water polo, it's not exactly a popular sport in the U.S. I know you mentioned earlier before we started that in North Carolina, basically no one even knows what it is, and so for the most part, during my entire collegiate career and everything up until then, I was flying very under the radar in terms of um, recognition of the sport, of um, the effort that we put in, the sacrifices that we make, and then to come to the national team level and have kids who I remember when I was their age, and I remember how formative it was having someone actually take the time to sign the ball or the t-shirt and talk to me about you know how they think about the game and give me advice and motivation to keep going.
Of course, for my listeners that don't know, what is the sport of water polo and how do you play it?
So water polo is played obviously in the pool, um, and for everyone wondering how we get the horses in the water, I'll just assure you right now that it's not the same kind of polo. Um, but you're in the water, you've got 7 people, 6 field players, and 1 goalie. Everyone in the water, excluding the goalie, plays both offense and defense. You swim up and down the pool. The goal is to score goals, put the ball in the back of the net. Really important. You can only use one hand. You can't touch the ball with both hands. And there are ordinary fouls for, you know, putting your hands on the other player, not in a non-goal preventing way. There are exclusions if you're um, most likely in 2 meters, which is the center right in front of the goal. It's very similar to a center in basketball. Um, but if the ball gets entered and the center defender prevents the center from shooting or from making a move, that will usually be an exclusion. And then you play man up or man down, depending on if your team took the exclusion or if your team earned the exclusion. Um, and then the only thing on top of that would be a penalty, which is called if you directly prevent a goal.
Of course, in the sport of water polo, what are some of your game day routines and rituals like?
It's interesting. My game day routines have really developed and kind of changed over the years. I think as I grow up and mature more, my game day routines change with me. Um, Obviously, when I was a lot younger, you'd play multiple games in a day, so your routine kind of changes based on is this the second game, the third game of the day, and now you only play one game maybe once every 2 days. And so for me now, I like to, if I can, swim in the morning before. I usually would like to do that. If not, wake up, normal breakfast, do a little bit of film study. Usually I've taken care of all the studying and background research beforehand, but I like to do a little debrief before the meeting, have a team meeting, go to the pool, depending on what time the game is. You usually have, an hour and a half, 2 hours. I like to start with band work, playing more peaceful music. I like listening to country music at this point, keeping it very mellow. I want to keep my heart rate low. I don't want to expend any emotional energy at this point. And then as you kind of build up towards the game, I like to ramp it up little by little by little. Obviously, like switching from band work to doing more body prep stuff. And then once I'm actually in the water is when I'm starting to spike my heart rate, get my head really wrapped around the idea of playing the game. And then after that, you get out, you do your introductions, and right when I jump in the water, I like to just get my legs going really fast, as hard as I can, just to feel the power, feel the water. And that's usually all I do.
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the sport of water polo?
So as a left-handed attacker, I really like to look up to other left-handed attackers. So I think Filip Filipovic is probably the best left-handed attacker to ever do it. There are so many aspects of his game that I just watched and tried to mimic. Gregor Zalanki, he's a Hungarian lefty who actually plays for Pro Recco, which is a team in the Italian league. It was really awesome getting to play against him because there just have been so many times that I've watched him play at the international level and just seen the way that he fakes the ball, the way that he moves his chest, the way that he grinds his legs, are all things that I've tried to implement into my game.
How's it been like obviously playing with your teammate Alex Bowen?
You know, Alex Bowen and I obviously play the same side of the pool. I'm a lefty, he's a righty. And so it's been an amazing experience. He's so talented, and there are so many things in his game that I just don't even know how he's able to do it. And it's really fun to be a part of that, especially because as the lefty, I can usually see the entire pool at this point. And so when Bowen's making his moves and kind of opening himself up, I'm always looking to try and give him the ball, give him as many opportunities as he can, because I just trust him to make the play.
Of course, what has that been like obviously competing against those teams in Italy with your teammates, but also when you come to the US, how is that like obviously competing against your teammates representing Team USA?
It was funny. Last weekend, I went down to Palermo and played a game against Telemar, and Telemar has two Americans on the team, Max Irvin and Johnny Hooper. And, during the game, it's all business as usual. Like, we're trying to do the best we possibly can to help our club teams win the game. And we're guarding each other, we're pressing each other, we're playing just, you know, as hard as we can. And then as soon as we're done with the game, it's, you know, let's go get lunch, let's catch up, and it just switches right back to being, buddy buddy and all friendly.
How's that been like obviously having your teammates from Team USA and playing against them? And what has that experience been like knowing obviously their playing style before obviously getting to compete against them?
Yeah, so you do pick up a lot of things learning about each other's tendencies, and it's it's not as big of an advantage as you would think because you spend your job. I mean, my job as a professional athlete is to know exactly the ins and outs of the person I'm going to be guarding, anyways. And so if they're my national team teammate, maybe I don't have to look so hard to like understand what their tendencies are. But if it's someone else in the Italian league, my job is also to know what they want to do, what their number one option is, number two option is, number three option, and how I'm going to prevent them from getting the things that they want. And so even though I have, more information about my national team teammates, it's not as big of an advantage because, if I'm doing my job right, I probably have the same amount of information as the other person on whatever other person I'd be guarding.
How's it been like obviously getting to live out your water polo dreams?
I feel really fortunate and really privileged to be able to do the things that I do. Just a few days ago, I was just looking around being in Italy, learning a completely foreign language, getting to see, beautiful sights and experience food and culture and things that I've never gotten to experience before. And I just felt so lucky in that moment. I was just overwhelmed with joy.
What are some of the things that you've learned so far as a professional water polo athlete that you didn't know before?
I think that probably the biggest thing that I've learned as a professional athlete is that your mentality going into games has to be, I don't want to say heightened or spiked, but the way that you conduct yourself, I think all the way up through college, you're always, going to be exactly matching everyone else on the team. You're more or less told exactly how you should be acting and what you should be doing. Whereas on the professional level, you all of those things start becoming voluntary, and learning how to conduct yourself in a completely professional manner, you know, every single time that you're on the pool deck is something that I think has helped me improve my game tremendously.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of water polo?
Obviously, goal number one is to make the Olympics for Paris in 2024. Um, Up until then, all my energy and effort is going to be dedicated towards, becoming the best version of myself that I can be, so that I can help our national team become the best version of itself.
What are some of the things that you're doing now to prepare to make that team to go to Paris for the Olympics?
So for me, the number one thing that I'm focusing on is defense. I'm trying to improve my awareness always. Coaches always talk about keeping your head on a swivel, always seeing the play, seeing everything going on, and making decisions with all the information every time. So that's something that I've been trying to get a lot better at. Obviously, in the Italian league, at the professional level, the ball moves much faster and everything feels much faster. And so trying to adjust to all of that has been, one way that I'm trying to improve my defense to try and help me become a better version of myself.
What advice would you give those athletes that are looking to play water polo in college?
Um, my number one advice for athletes looking to play water polo in college, I think that obviously my first and foremost is go for it. You never know what you're going to get. I think the biggest thing that holds people back is the fear of getting rejected, of not being good enough. Those are all things that are out of your control, and you will never know if you don't go for it. So my first advice is to go for it. My second advice is you'd be surprised how much better at the game of water polo you'll get if you just take time to master the fundamental basic parts and improve your speed and your processing of the game. Everything will start to slow down for you, and then you can make better decisions, and it'll feel like you're making them faster.
What advice would you give those people that are in college that are looking to play professional water polo and go overseas to play?
My first thing is I think you 100% should do it, regardless of if you're thinking about national team or just wanting a new experience. It's been probably the most formative and amazing thing that I've ever done in my life is coming over here. And, as far as actually finding a team, it's a little bit difficult in the US, but, it just starts with hopefully talking to your college coach, and hopefully they have connections, or talking to your friends, trying to find connections. And then once you start getting connected, um, picking a place to play is important. And those are all things that are going to be unique to every individual.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to represent a water polo team like Team USA or Canada?
I think that everyone should follow their dreams. It's not an easy road, but if you're willing to put in the effort, put in the hours, and make the sacrifices, then I think that more power to you.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Instagram at Tyler_Abramson, Twitter at Tyler Abramson. I believe probably Tyler Abramson on Facebook. I'm not really sure. I'm not exactly an active Facebook user anymore, but Instagram, Twitter, you can find me at Tyler Abramson.
Thank you again, Tyler Abramson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future representing the U.S. water polo.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Tyler Abramson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Take care.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.